pain's very controversial.
Yes.
Big topic to unpack. It's mentioned lots of times through everyone's life. Something that people know so much, well, they feel like they know so much about, but they actually know very little about. But it's so individual as well. Is pain just entirely neurological? I have no idea.
Getting very existential.
I know,
here.
we're going to get super deep. Whilst both Maddie and I are healthcare practitioners, we understand that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to healthcare. Should you require any medical attention, please seek out your local healthcare practitioner.
We'd like to take a break from today's episode to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Drip Digital. They manage all of our audio and video editing as well as our social media marketing. Without them, the We Don't Know Yet podcast wouldn't be possible. So thank you again.
Dude, hello.
Hello. We've just been talking for like an hour.
I know,
it's been
guys,
a while.
it's been a hot minute. I have been going to and from with weddings for like the last couple of weeks. So
Fine.
the last few weeks have actually felt like a bit of a blur to me, to be honest.
Yeah, you've taken a bit of time off work, haven't
Yeah, I have. It's I've been a bit in and out. This is the life of living in Sydney when, you know, a lot of your friends, 25 years worth of friends, are getting married in Melbourne.
you? In another state? Yep.
That's how this works.
Was
And
it good
they're
though?
not even just like in Melbourne either. They're all like, I'm not complaining, but they're all like
Destination.
destinations. Like
Country Vic?
Country Vic here, Country Vic there. And then on top of that as well, we got a couple more coming up, which is like not in the CBD, but like down the south coast or
Right.
so we're just bouncing around a bit.
Fun.
I know, but I'm excited because Easter's coming up and I actually have a trip down to Mollymook planned.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, you and Gabs?
Yes, me and Gabby are going down there, but we're meeting my dad and my stepmom down there. So
Get out of town. I'll be down in Mollymook for Easter too. Will it be Easter by the time this
we might have to do a
podcast is released?
Mollymook edition.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no,
So
it'll
good.
be really nice. We are actually looking at staying. Oh my god, I'm going to stuff the name up. Down at
Bannisters?
Bawley Point.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, but I said to the old man, I was like, I feel like we need to be a little bit closer to some cafes and some shops and some restaurants, and
Yeah, Bawley's
I want to be a
good.
bit more in like a bit of a hubby
Yeah.
spot down there.
Bawley's got wineries and cafes, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, so that was the general consensus was move a little bit
Yeah.
further towards.
Or you
that
could go to
region.
Narooma, meet your parents a little bit more closer.
Yeah, I feel like as well it's hard because I actually don't know which way they're going to come, whether they're going to come up through the Hume and across or whether they're going to come coastal,
Right.
because that changes everything.
Yeah, true.
But anyway,
that's
we'll wait
so
and see. But yes,
exciting.
that'll be a nice little like hit the reset, take a few days to just unwind. More time off work, not fun.
Yes. Yep.
But, you know, at the same time, play on.
You know what I'm jealous of? Those people who have just like the annual leave and public holiday system like down pat.
Yeah.
So this year I think it's if you take off, don't quote me on
did
this, but
see
it's like
this.
2 or 3 days of annual leave and you end up getting 2 weeks off.
Yeah, because
Just
you get, I think it's
Anzac
like,
Day and stuff.
yeah, you take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off that Easter week, and the Saturday you get like, so 4 days off.
Wow.
Crazy.
I think
I'm envious.
Easter's the most underrated holiday. It is literally my favorite time of year. Like way better than Christmas. There's no fucking expectations or pressure. Most of the time the weather's still pretty good.
Yep,
It's
yep.
just, it's so good. I love Easter.
It is unreal. It kind of caps off like the summer break really nicely.
Yes, it's so good. And historically the weather's always like spick and span.
Spick
You
and
guys
span.
should go to Cupid's down in Mollymook. It's
Okay.
a bit of a like a dive on the Easter long weekend. A dive? Is that, I don't know. It's a bit of a hot
Cupids,
spot.
if you're listening to this, don't take it
dive.
personally.
It's a dive.
Don't take it personally.
What's like, what do the old people say? They're like, it's a little like,
little
it's a little
shack,
hubbub. Yeah.
little place to like
It's a little place.
just roll up to.
Yeah, it's so good though. You should definitely go.
Oh, nice. Well, there you go. What's news with you?
Same.
By the way, we've got Walty in
We've
the
got
studio today.
Walty, who was being a bit chaotic before,
Yeah,
but now
he's
he's
settled.
asleep next
I think
to
it was
Zed.
to the sound of our voices just catching up. He's now.
I know. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's a little therapy dog in training, so I'm like, I need to acclimatise him to people and just learning to sit and be still. But honestly, the same as you, wedding every
Yeah.
second weekend.
Yep.
I think I've got 2 more until my own, which is exciting. Yeah, but honestly, like Dad said, every single weekend it's
Yeah.
been a wedding,
I
so
know.
which
Especially
has been
during
awesome.
this little pocket. It's like
Yeah.
still trying to catch a nice weather. Everyone's like go go go.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
It's great. It's a good problem to have, but it is.
Are we in the wedding
quite
season?
tiring. Huh?
We're definitely in the wedding season.
I think we're coming to the end of, yes.
End of.
Yeah, most people have them in summer, don't they?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, now that I think about it, I think after this one that we've got coming up, I don't think we have one until yours.
Woohoo!
Woo!
How exciting. That's a nice break as well. It's that like 7-month break.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to be a bit of a break, but Euro summer this year.
So exciting. Do you have it all sorted?
We've just booked, we booked all our flights the other day. I'm catching up with a few Osteos in London.
Nice.
Elite. Maybe do some networking there. It's on the record.
You never quit. The boy never quits.
But yeah, no, it'll be really good, I think. We're getting over there back end of July, I think.
Lovely.
Should be elite.
Oh, I'm going to be so jealous of everyone in Europe or just away, but it's okay. I had my time last year.
Yeah, I was about to say, how long was your trip last year?
2 months.
So good.
It just feels like,
like
a
one every year.
I know. Honestly, if I had my way, I would be doing that, but I have to adult. But that's okay.
I have to adult.
I'm not going to lie. This episode, I feel a bit out of my depth.
Yeah, but it'll be good because, like, what is pain? Like, do you even know what pain is?
What is pain?
Yeah, I feel like I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and you sometimes never stop and actually, like, reflect on some of this stuff and go, what actually is it? Like, I don't actually know what it is.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But yes, pain's very controversial.
Yes.
Big topic to unpack. It's mentioned lots of times through everyone's life.
Mm-hmm.
Something that people know so much, well, they feel like they know so much about, but they actually know very little about. But it's so individual as well. So
yes,
it's really, I think, I don't know. Like, I don't know what pain is. Do you know what pain is?
I have no idea what pain is. And if you don't know what pain is and you work predominantly in the pain space, and I'm a lost cause.
Yeah. I honestly, when I came into the healthcare space, I thought pain was going to be like the easiest thing to nut out.
Yeah.
It is so complex.
Yeah, it is. I've had a few clients, obviously I haven't seen them for their pain, but heard stories of their pain, and sometimes it's even like that neurological pain. Like it's intense.
Yeah. And not even just like when we say like neurological pain, I'm like, is pain just entirely neurological? I have no idea.
Getting very existential.
I know, we're going to get super deep. But you know what I actually just remembered?
What?
I just remembered, I feel like it's good to start with a definition for this stuff.
Let's start with what pain is.
Yeah. So
let's have a structure for once in our lives.
Yeah, gonna get the pain
pain definition. Yep.
Just because I think to have like a proper definition is a good starting place, and then we can kind of discuss off of that.
Kind of go from there.
Yes, but
Beautiful.
The International Association for the Study of Pain, the IASP, defines pain as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with or resembling that associated with actual or potential tissue damage.
Can you start that again?
Yeah, how complex is that? So essentially, unpleasant sensory and emotional experience.
Yeah.
With or resembling that associated with actual or potential tissue damage. So
it doesn't necessarily have to have tissue damage to be classified as pain. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And you know what? Like, while we're unpacking like what pain is, I wanna flash back to like a couple of different podcasts I've been listening to recently. And I'm gonna ask you the question to start. Do you think pain's a learnt experience?
Ooh, it's a good one. This is purely my unqualified opinion.
Yeah.
Like
nice.
I'm not at all an expert in this.
Let's hear it.
I think to a big degree, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so conflicted about this, right? But I was listening to a podcast not long ago, and it was a podcast with a psychologist. And it's really interesting. Every time I say the word psychologist in relation to pain, I'm always like, yeah, like that's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Because I definitely think there's like a behavioral or like an emotional or a like.
Well, you know what I think about? I think about people that I know with children, and the kids fall over, and historically my response has always been like, oh, little Timmy, like, you okay? Like, and then that gets them worked up. Whereas the parents are like, no, just pretend everything's fine.
Yeah.
Like, just be like, okay, get up. Otherwise, if you cater to them and like fuff over them, unless it's like a serious injury, I'm just talking about them, tripping over themselves or whatever.
100%.
Then it becomes like a learnt thing.
Dude, did you see that TV show? Is that what you're referencing?
No, I'm just thinking about my experience of like kids and shit.
So I reckon I saw a clip on social media not long ago. There was a clip about these babies that were sitting in a room with snakes.
Yep.
Have you seen this?
No. We'll have to get it
We
up.
might have to get it up and play it over the top of this.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think it was an ABC series. So this is it.
They don't seem that concerned at all, which is concerning me.
I know, it's unbelievable to see, isn't it? Babies, even when they're very young, are very, very good at watching the eyes and the emotional expression of their caregivers. And so if something new or weird or different occurs, the child will often check in with their caregiver's face to go, is this something I need to worry about or not? And in that split second, if the caregiver shows fear, the child will often react with fear as well.
I wonder how the parents feel watching this.
This is set up to be very safe.
Okay.
These are trained snakes that are used to being with humans.
They're non-venomous.
They're non-venomous.
Sorry, I can't.
So once you've learned to fear them,
That's it.
it's an awful feeling.
But we start out like this.
But we start
not
out
fearing
like
it all,
this.
touching it on the face.
Yeah, just no fear at all. She hasn't learned there's anything to worry about with snakes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
How crazy is that?
And they're so chill.
They are so chill. So back to our discussion here. I was listening to a podcast not long ago, and it was a podcast with a psychologist. I'm currently reading his book. It's called The Chimp Paradox.
Oh, yes.
But it's about the formative years, like when we're children. And it's talking about like our perception of the world and everything that kind of happens from the age of 0 all the way through until particular ages. And it also unpacks a lot more into our adult years about our minds and everything along those lines.
Yeah.
Anyway, he talks in this podcast about like our learned behaviors that happen before we kind of have like a memory. And they're like instinctive reflexes or things that we learn from those around us. And he talks about like how if you watch babies, like in this exact scenario, if you watch babies when they're in a position of uncertainty, like they're experiencing something new, just like you were talking about before.
Yeah.
They don't look at the stimulus. They look at the response to everyone around.
Yeah. How should I be responding in this moment?
Yeah. And for those of you like who are watching the YouTube who couldn't like see the video is essentially like a room full of babies and snakes.
Wild.
And the
babies
parents are
so
standing
chill.
on the outside of the room watching the whole thing unfold.
Yeah.
But the babies can't actually see the parents' face.
And they were fine.
And they were fine. They were just like chilling there, playing with the snakes, like playing with the blocks around the snakes. Like there was no threat perception. So yeah, the more and more that I start to think about pain, I kind of just go, it is so complex. Like it's not just as simple as hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And then that tissue damage then equates to pain.
Yeah, and I think that it's important for us now to distinguish, like, we're not necessarily talking about like broken bones and shit, because obviously that is pain, but more like, as you said, like a bit of tissue damage or like
or
a
the fear,
tear.
the potential of being injured, or the potential,
Yes.
because fear is like probably more the thing that's the learned behavior there, like being scared of, the snakes.
Yeah.
But in a scenario like you said before, where the baby falls over and
Yeah.
potentially hurts himself, it doesn't actually cry straight away.
No.
It looks at
Yeah.
what's going on around it. What are people saying?
How
around
people
it?
are responding. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that whole element, which is like, when we look at then the definition, we kind of go, right, that's like a lot of the emotional side of things. That's the perceived like pain side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also like the structural changes that happen within us too.
Yep.
Right. So I often ask myself this: do you think the pain happens like in the tissue that you hurt, or do you think it happens elsewhere? Like, do you think you process the pain there, or do you think you process the pain elsewhere?
You're asking the wrong person, because I have zero understanding really. Like,
I know. But even because even studying some of this stuff, we look at like what are the initial pain responses when you have like a painful stimulus.
Isn't it the neurons that fire up to the brain?
Yeah. Because like pain is, it's.
I don't know if that's right. That's just my guess.
Yeah, you have like a painful scenario, and like I often think to myself, like, what causes painful? Like, because I always, I've had situations in the past where I've hurt myself and I like grab the area.
Yep.
But like it's my brain that's actually like telling me that I'm sore there.
Well,
right?
even as we were talking about off air, like phantom pain for people who lose limbs and they get those like shadow pains or whatever, phantom pains.
Yeah, it's like the brain still thinks there's a limb there, and it still thinks you're in pain, and it's that whole neural side of things as well.
Very
the nervous
interesting.
system. So in summary, pain, super complex. It's
Yeah.
not an easy question. It's not something just like to be like, oh yeah, what, you know?
I broke my shin. Or
Yeah.
can you
Why
break a
do
shin?
I have this pain? What is this pain kind of thing?
Can you break a shin?
Yeah, you can break your shin.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know, it can be also the opposite of that, which is very real, very basic.
Yes.
And
If you chop a finger off, it's going to fuck hurt.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that.
especially if you're watching it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're
Jesus.
watching it. But yeah, I always like think that's like a really interesting place to start with pain, because a lot of the time people think that there has to be some sort of damage or
Yep.
has to be an injury of some sort that causes a lot of this pain.
Yes.
Whereas like you and I, like we can have aches and pains here and there that just come on for no reason. It's not like we've done anything.
Yeah, I know
Crazy.
somebody that had quite a big experience of like trauma in their life, and they had a lot of like chronic pain, like real debilitating stuff, like weren't able to work really, like their quality of life was quite diminished as a result of this. They went to, it was one of the hospitals in Sydney. I'm not even going to try and guess because I'm not quite sure of the name. But they went to an outpatient pain clinic there. And like essentially it was like for the neurological pain side of things, and like sort of worked through that. And like as a result, their chronic pain was like greatly reduced. It was very interesting.
Yeah, and I think this is like a really important thing to unpack, and we'll kind of get stuck into it a little bit as well, but the differences between that kind of like acute, which is like a short-term pain, and that chronic pain, which is like a longer-term pain.
Yeah, similar to the stress episode where we did, you know, a while back now, the acute and chronic stress.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like there's so many differences or so many things that are different within the body during that acute, that initial kind of like onset of a pain
Yep.
versus like the things and the processes that are happening in the body during that chronic instance of pain.
Yeah.
Another story. I was watching it was actually a TED Talk, this one. It was about a guy who he got bit by a snake in the forest.
Yeah.
He had to like be rushed to hospital, obviously.
Fair.
Yeah, got bitten
Pussy.
by a snake. You're really compromised in that scenario. But no, he like walked past something and it brushed his leg, and he like didn't think much of it and like kept walking. And then like a couple of meters down the line, he'd like passed out and was like
God.
unconscious.
Yeah.
It's because he'd been bitten by a snake, but he just didn't realize he'd been bitten by a snake.
No.
Didn't see the snake, didn't see anything like that, just walking through the bushes. This is why I always get really scared about walking through bushes. Different note. But yeah, he got bitten by the snake, passed out in the bushes. They took him to ED, obviously, went through the whole process of like getting better. A few years later, he tells a story of how he actually went walking in the bushes again. He walked past a bush and something brushed his leg.
Oh.
And he got like struck down and was in like agonizing pain.
From
But
a literal leaf.
Yeah, a literal leaf. So like his brain had like interpreted that as the same scenario that he went through last time he had that acute onset.
So interesting.
Yeah, and it kind of had learnt from that situation. So, you know, the next concept with pain is that like your body is constantly learning, just like your mind is constantly learning. So, you know, if you have that initial or that acute pain that we talk about, that short-term pain, it sets up the potential for that chronic pain in a scenario when there's like all these changes that happen in your nervous system. But then also like if you go and experience that same stimulus that caused the pain last time,
Yep.
there's the potential there for your body to have actually learned like to protect itself.
Right.
So it's that whole
gotcha.
concept of like, you know, the alarm bells are kind of going off the first time.
Yep.
They get it. You put a few more alarm bells in for the second time it happens, kind of thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I like some of these like scenarios with pain, I kind of look at and go, man, like our body is pretty fucking wild.
Yeah.
The way that it can just like rewire itself and structure like a completely new response to the same thing that it had just experienced.
It's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. I feel like as well, like people often think that pain is caused by the actual tissue damage itself though. So like they think about like when you tear a muscle, that's what like,
Pain
causes
is.
the pain.
Which it is.
It is.
But it's not the
absolutely
only
is,
one.
But it's not the only thing that contributes to that whole pain experience.
Yes. All right. I want to hear from you.
Yes.
What is your worst injury to date, touch wood, or like your wildest sort of, you know, injury related story that you have at the moment?
Yeah, nice. Well, you know, this probably kind of speaks quite nicely to My poor mum, she's going to be mortified that I tell this story. But this speaks quite nicely, I think, to the whole learned pain response. But, you know, when I was younger, I used to do karate and we were doing, they called them like safety rolls.
Yeah.
So they're meant to be like very safe procedure thing to do, kind of blah, blah, blah.
The irony.
Yeah, I know the irony. I was doing them outside on the grass and you were instructed to do it a particular way. And as a kid, I just like did not listen and just did it a completely different way.
No, it's not like you.
No, that's not a thing.
No.
Anyway, so like I rolled into the ground, broke my collarbone.
Fuck.
Which is very painful.
Yeah.
But again, like to speak to that whole discussion that we kind of just touched on, I like turned around and looked at my mum pretty upset and she was just kind of like, keep going, like you're fine.
Oh.
So like
I thought you were going to say the complete opposite of that, in that like Mama Jarvis like completely wigged it.
No. She was like, keep going, you're all good. Like play on, not an issue in the world. And then I kept on doing the safety rolls on the broken collarbone. And the karate instructor came over and was like, why are you so sad for? Blah, blah, blah. Here's how you do it. And like showed me the proper way to do it. And I was like walking to the back to the dojo area, and I remember walking in like just being like a little bit upset and like holding my arm. And my mum was like, you're fine. Just keep going. You're almost done.
Yeah.
So we like went inside the dojo area and started doing push-ups on our knuckles. And like here I am just sitting there world of hurt. And like I'm sitting there just going, oh, I'm pretty sore. Like I think I'm a bit like,
oh my God.
I think this is something like pretty uncomfortable, pretty
baby
serious.
Seb's just like rolling his eyes.
Anyway, like we went home. And like my mum was like, you'll be fine, put me to bed, like woke up the next day, sent me to school.
That's a boy mum through and through.
Yeah, love. Anyway, my mum got a call the next day from like the nurse at the school and was just like, she's like, is everything okay? And it's like, oh, he's pretty upset. Like I think he's like in a bit of pain. You might have to like come and get him and take him to the doctor. I just remember walking into the doctor and being like, the doctor saying to my mum, oh, he's broken his collarbone. And she's like, how can you tell? Oh. And he like moves the collar back and it's just hanging through. Oh, and she's like, oh.
I just thought it was like a deformity. Far out.
I know.
Oh
so that has to probably be one of like my more painful experiences. But you know,
that you just endured as well.
Yeah. I think as well though, like you kind of like weirdly, I think that set me up for then like having this really bolstered pain response. And I don't know what happened because I'm such a big softie now. But like
the beginning of the end.
Yeah. But then like a couple of months later, I remember like going to kick a soccer ball at karate as well. And like I just collected some guy's foot and my toe bent backwards. And like I just like looked at it and like didn't cry. Didn't do anything, just like walked over to the instructor with like a toe that was like bending backwards essentially. And he was just like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I just need to like sit down. I'm not sure whether it was just shock at that point or whether it was actually just like my bolstered pain response from my initial, you know, like.
Really hardened you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah, for the next couple of years anyway. Because after that, now I'm just like a big softie. But that probably has to go down as like,
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, two of my more like weird and wonderful and painful experiences. But I guess, kind of speak nicely to what we were talking about before from the sense of, I don't know, like didn't really have a major pain response. Not like how I would think I would respond now if I broke something.
Right.
I feel like I pull something and I'm like complaining about it for like 4 days with Gabby and she's like, shut up, you've been complaining about it for the last 4 days. But there you go. What about you? What's one of your bigger pain stories?
I've actually got two, and they're complete opposite ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
First one, I was 12. I was climbing in a tree when I should have been at netball training. Classic ADHD little me. Fell out of the tree on the way down to the ground, hit a bubbler on my tailbone, then landed on the concrete. And like it hurt, but it didn't hurt from memory. I can't remember it hurting that much. But there was an off-duty ambo at the park because I think his daughter was like training with me or something like that. And then he sort of assessed the situation because my parents weren't there because they had just dropped me at netball training. So then he was like kind of the only adult really there. And he was like, you okay? And then like yada, yada, yada. And I think it was like watching everyone else's responses around me, in particular like the adults, and they were freaking out because obviously you don't muck around with a back or a spine. That made me then go, oh, like maybe I am in pain. Maybe and I started really questioning it. Long story short, ended up in the fucking hospital for like a week because I thought I broke my spine. Proper neck brace and everything. Like couldn't move. But I don't remember it hurting. Like I just remember being
I don't want to move.
Yeah, I just remember them being like, don't move. Like you could, paralyze yourself. Like stay still. And then I was like freaking out, understandably so.
Yeah.
But like looking back, I actually can't remember the pain.
Yeah.
Like I remember the like, ouch, obviously falling out of a tree onto my ass. But it wasn't like that. Like my spine, I can't feel anything, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
That is freaky.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what, like, I don't know, again, I suppose it kind of relates well to the discussion that we kind of had previously. But yeah, like, I feel like sometimes we do just get like really frightened about like the potential of like.
Yeah, I was frightened and watching all the adults around me be scared and terrified, which I completely understand. And if I was in their situation, I think I'd be much the same. But that made me then second guess like, fuck, am I actually in pain? Like, I don't know. Ugh.
I don't know. Maybe I am in pain.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other end of that was a couple years ago when we did the Sydney Marathon. I stupidly bought a new pair of shoes a week before, didn't break them in, ran the marathon in a new fucking pair of shoes. Idiot.
Smart.
Got so smart. Got a really horrible, horrendous blister. And obviously that was hell painful, but it was more the sort of aftermath of that. So because I had that blister for literally half of the marathon at this point, even 3/4, I think it came in at like 10K.
Oh.
It was rough. I then obviously overcompensated with like the opposite leg to like sort of run. I actually forget. Yeah. So it was on my right foot and then I overcompensated with my left leg to try and like, not stand on it as much.
Because you were just limping.
Yeah.
For 30K.
Because I was limping for 30K literally. And then as a result, that pain then traveled up into my ITB and my knee area. And then literally months later, I ended up in my hip and like my hammy. And I'm still honestly looking at like, I'm obviously seeing Gab at Sutherland Osteo. Shout out to Sutherland Osteo.
Shout out Gab.
Yeah, shout out to Gabs. But I'm still looking at all of that, and I honestly believe that it's an aftermath of that marathon a couple of years ago.
Dude, that's so wild.
Yeah.
I feel like as well, like you at 20Ks versus you at like 38Ks were different. I might have to see if I can find the video of you just like in the hurt locker, blood shoe, like running past everyone in the crowd.
For context, guys, I think I saw Zeb and Gab before I went down into, was it Miss McCoy's chair, that little loop? And I was like, hey, how's it going? Like in a bit of pain, like still, but spirits were high. Did the Miss McCoy's chair. At this point, it was like in the mid to late 30K. So I was at the end and I was bawling my eyes out running past them.
Just like trying to hold pace.
It was fucking traumatic. So very different ends of the pain spectrum. One was definitely a very felt sense of pain.
There you go. But do you find it fascinating that like you knew that something painful was happening to your foot? Because I feel like now if you were to run however many like Ks and you could feel a blister coming on, I don't know do you reckon you'd make the full 40Ks again?
I would because I'm stubborn, but I wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I had to keep stopping.
Do you think it'd hurt more?
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, I suppose you never know until you know, right? But I always think like it goes one or two ways, right? Like when you have that pain response, you either generate like the new nerves and the new neurons and the new kind of processes throughout the body that make the area a little bit more hypersensitive if that scenario was to happen again.
Yeah.
Or you go the other way and it's like you've been through it before, you know what you're in for, you're kind of like pretty locked in and dialed in and you just push through it even better.
Yeah, or even both can be true, I feel. Like I think the body might be more sensitive, but then psychologically I'd be like, just fucking enjoy.
You're like, I've done this.
Yeah.
Just get through it.
Yeah. I don't know. Not that I'm planning on it again, to be completely
honest. I was like, fair enough. I wouldn't plan to have a big blister like you had on your foot ever again.
It was the most dumbest thing I've ever done. But we did it. We got it done. It's fine.
Well, and then so this probably lines up our new segment that we're going to try and implement.
We need like intro music, like or something like that. But we do have a new segment. We've kind of been teasing it for a little bit and we've actually finally put pen to paper.
Yeah, well,
it's
it's just more the process. Official. And because like we want to be more interactive with you guys. So,
we want a community.
Yeah, we want to keep building our community and like we've feeling like we're getting to the stage where we can really build from our community now and like
Yeah.
and bring you guys into the episode in real time.
Yeah, I know as much as you love or must love, I should say, listening to just the two of us in episode.
Or
You're
guest.
So cute. And or guest. Yeah, we want to hear from you more. We want to bring more of a community-based segment into the pod. So without further ado, drum roll.
Oh, Walter's confused.
I don't know if I can tap on this. Oh, yeah, Walter's like, what the fuck is going on? Da-da-da-da. Let's introduce. You want to introduce it?
I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, okay. So the name of the pod segment. Stop, Kenny.
Nah, start again, Kenny. We're just including it.
Okay. The name of the segment is Most Effed Up Health Stories. We really could not think of a name, but I think that just like summarizes it quite beautifully.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a new segment where we want to hear your best, perhaps most unhinged health-related stories. So, you know, really what the fuck moments that have happened to you or someone else you know. Obviously, keep them anonymous, please.
Yep.
So, you know, a dodgy diagnosis, something that's happened in the ER room, something that's happened in any health-related sort of space.
A funny experience.
A funny experience, something embarrassing.
Something cooked.
Yeah.
The most cookedest was the word that we landed on.
Yes. We made up a word. Most cookedest health story. And we want you guys to submit them. Each and every episode, we're going to read out a couple and select the best one. And the best one gets a special prize. Woo! So, you go.
Oh, no, you go.
Oh, to do that, we've got a form.
Yeah.
We've got an official form. It'll be on our Instagram. We'll pop it in the bottom of the show notes of every episode.
Yeah.
We'll read out a couple. You have you have the option to remain completely anonymous, I should say.
Yeah.
But if you do want to receive a prize, we do ask that you share your email address. Obviously, we will not share it on air, but it's just used to contact you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
For context too, as an example, one of my stories is that I have farted in a consult before. And that felt pretty cool.
Oh my God, that's pretty cooked.
Yeah.
I have too many to share. I think the back one was enough for today. But yeah, so most effed up health stories. It's going to be a new seg. We want to hear from you guys. Let us know if you like it.
Yeah.
Send in the stories. We can't wait to hear them. I feel like people have so many weird and wonderful stories and experiences.
Absolutely.
And it's the opportunity to win some cool prizes from some sponsors.
I was
that
about
have
to
not
say,
yet
I
been
feel
announced.
like if I'm able to laugh with every second patient in my consult, there's definitely other people that have had similar kind of scenarios with their healthcare practitioner out there.
For sure. So yes, new segment. We will start that it's started now, but as of next episode, we'll start reading them stories out.
Yeah,
So send them in. Beautiful. All right, where were we?
I feel like we're close to the end of this episode. It's just going to be a nice and short one today.
Beautiful.
But I think to finish off, we might just touch on like a little bit of like pain management.
Yeah.
And for those of people obviously who are experiencing like a lot of pain and discomfort, there's like so much you can do in the scenario when you're in pain too.
Yeah.
Especially like in the acute setting when like you first actually struck down by pain.
So to clarify as well, what defines acute pain?
Yeah,
Just
well,
quickly.
so like what we were talking about before, so like acute pain, you're looking at your more like short-term pain, your local kind of responses, so actual tissue damage, like in this scenario, if you like tear a muscle or you have like an inflammatory response or something along those lines, the acute pain response tends to be like a protective feature that occurs. So tends to be your body's way of letting you know that something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Or something's potentially wrong if we're going to use that definition that we kind of gave earlier. And then a lot of the time, like acute pain episodes, they do like resolve. And like the goal, I think, for everyone who's managing that acute pain phase is, you know, like full resolution, no further issues moving forward.
Yep.
Obviously, like your body learns from the experience too. And that's a whole part of this pain journey is like your body builds different strategies to protect you in the future.
Yep.
But yeah, like that acute pain phase, it's not meant to last very long. It's meant to be quite manageable. You know, obviously from a management perspective, you know, as much as we all love resting and not doing the things we love, that tends to be like a little bit of your go-to, plus like obviously catching up with like a healthcare professional to manage it.
Yep.
And usually come the end of that process, like you're back doing
Pretty well and good.
Yeah, back doing things pretty well. Not too many issues. Even for the more serious acute injuries, like you look at things like ACLs. A lot of people who do like an ACL injury, they have kind of like 12 months to really bolster themselves. Some people come back a lot sooner than that, kind of that 9-month phase. And then they're kind of like up and running and life is as per usual after that. Like they get back into their training, they get back into their sport, they get back into their life.
Yep.
Even for your general pop that doesn't actually like play sport or do too much in that scenario. And then that's versus the chronic side of things. So chronic pain really kind of being depicted a little bit more by, that longer term time frame.
Yep.
So something that's kind of prolonged in its exposure or experience. And sometimes there's like actual tissue damage that can be there during that whole chronic pain scenario. Sometimes there's not a structural cause that can kind of contribute to that.
Yep.
So in that scenario, like it's very much like a learnt neurological pathway or a developed neurological pathway that can be causing pain. It could be a prolonged inflammatory exposure. It can be like a number of different things.
Yep.
And then sometimes it can be pain where you've had like one of those acute scenarios that's persisted, and like even though you've had that resolution,
Yep.
like the actual tissue's healed, turns into like a longer term pain as well.
Yep.
And we're still not 100% sure like why that happens. But in some people it does, and that's just part of their management. Yeah, and it doesn't really adhere to like your typical rules. It kind of is a bit random.
Interesting. I feel like I've learned a lot from someone who doesn't know much about pain.
Yeah, well, I feel like people as well just think like there's the one type of pain, which is the acute pain. I mean, we've spoken about it how many times when like I've seen people that come into the treatment room, they're like, oh yeah, so I've got this back. It's been sore for like the last like 10 months and like I'm expecting you to just kind of like fix it in one session. And like if we're going off what we just talked about there, it's kind of like if you have had pain for a long period of time and it's unrelenting and it's been constant and it's been progressive,
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of phenomena there or a lot of like experience there or neurological change there.
Yeah.
That
A 50-minute consult, 40-minute consult's not going to fucking solve it.
Yeah, it potentially really kind of sets you up for some longer term management. And it's not to say you'll never get there. Like a lot of people have really good experiences when dealing with chronic pain. There's a lot of people that they go through the pain management process and see people and they work towards goals and they change their lifestyle and like there's so many different things you can test and try to really get on the front foot with that chronic pain.
Yep.
Mind you, it is quite taxing, and like I'm fully aware that there's an emotional and a psychological level there that kind of gets a bit agitated as well in those scenarios. But there is a way forward with some of that stuff. It just does take a bit of time as well.
Yeah, right.
Versus that, like acute pain, like we said, where sometimes it can be just like you come in, have a catch up, you've had a pain for like 3 days and we treat it and you do some strength-based stuff and you're walking away feeling a little bit better. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is really interesting. But there's a few other kind of processes that take place too. I actually think what we might do, and I think this would be really cool to unpack with another guest, is go into some of those more what's the word that I'm looking for? Kind of technical pathways and pain pathways with someone like a pain specialist and someone who works in the chronic pain space.
Yes.
Because I think they're going to do it really good justice as well in terms of the science side of things. But
you and I have definitely just scratched the surface.
Yeah. This is like very surface level, but it's more about like exposure for today. Like we're trying to highlight, I think, as well, and trying to give people a takeaway that like pain is like so multifactorial. It's not just tissue damage equals pain.
Yes.
It's so many other functions in your body that contribute to that. And again, it doesn't even have to be a structural like contribution. It can be a perceived threat, or it can be something that's, like a perception that contributes to your pain too.
Right.
So I think the big takeaway from today is making sure that you're across, the fact that pain is so complex. It's often not clear cut. It tends to be something that, you really have to unpack and explore a little bit with people and work towards.
Interesting.
And that's how it kind of rolls out.
Good stuff.
Yeah, dude. But yes, scratch the surface today. We'll keep you guys in the loop for when we do our next pain management episode.
You know what I feel like right now, and I'm going to liken it to, this is like the most weirdest analogy. I feel like I am a beautician trying to be a dentist. Like, I just feel like I have absolutely I have no opinion here. I have no thoughts. I'm just literally listening and going, yes, I see.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But I feel like as well, you can relate to it from the perspective of like, let's say, for example, in your...
Like the psychological.
Yeah, with the psychological component in the eating disorder space or, with the psychological component to just life, like mental health.
True.
Like you can kind of relate it a little bit to those scenarios
from a mental health point of view, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like in the eating disorder space, like there tends, and like this is just me assuming here, because again, I'm not a specialist in this field, but like there tends to be like an acute scenario or an acute episode.
Yeah.
And, over time, like their bodies and their minds and their perception of the scenario changes. Like, and it adapts to what they're exposed to or what they perceive as well.
Very eloquently put. I like that. Good work.
So yes, whilst can be applicable across multiple industries, I feel like pain is something that we all talk about so much, but we never really sit there and go, where is my pain coming from?
Yeah, what actually is pain?
Yeah,
what's going on for
why
me?
have I got this pain? But yeah, I feel like it's definitely something that doesn't just get unpacked in 20 minutes.
Yep.
But at the same time, it can be cool to just like scratch the surface and be like, hey, did you know that babies don't feel pain when they fall over unless you look at them funny?
Very interesting. Yeah, watch that clip if you can go back and look at the YouTube.
Yes.
Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
if you're listening on Spotify, get
Go
on
back to
YouTube, watch the clip.
Beautiful.
Super crazy.
Pop it in the show notes.
Pop it in the show notes.
Alrighty.
Nice, dude. Well, another episode in the books. We actually have some really exciting guests lined up for you guys as well, which is I'm pretty rapt about.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, and we've also got some really exciting news. So, as you all know, Maddie and I have been on our sponsorship campaign. A sponsorship campaign, and we've got some really exciting stuff coming through soon. So,
at the time of recording, we're just
at the
about
time
to wrap
of recording,
up.
Yes, mind you though, this goes live in 4 weeks, so
yeah,
it'll probably be well and truly in the works by then. But yeah, we'll fill you guys in more in our next episode.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast.
Be the first to know when the next episode drops by hitting subscribe on wherever you catch your podcasts.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at wedon'tknowyet.pod.
See ya.